talk about the things that they need to talk about, because I think that's where it comes from.
You know, that we talk about the fact that people remove themselves from situations. We also have to look at the other side of the situation where a person who has PTSD or other mental issues can become codependent on a specific person. So they don't want to be away from that person, or they can't do other things. You know, a woman who's been sexually assaulted, sexually abused, her husband came in to rescue her and has been a good friend to her and this and everything else, but now she can't really function without her husband being around or without her boyfriend being around because she's become codependent on that individual. So, you know, you just have to pay attention to the signs and the symptoms of how things go, because, you know, the ultimate goal is to continue to be an adult, functioning adult in society where you're not really so dependent and you don't have as many symptoms and things that are noticeable, and you try to maintain.
Right. And I do believe that. I mean, that what you're saying as far as that, the next thing we talk about, healing is possible.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the thing, as high as possible. I mean, recovery is real, so is hope. But recovery is real. I mean, you know, but, you know, I think when we talk about healing, it's one of those things when we talk about forgiving. It don't mean it's right. It don't mean when you forgive someone, it doesn't mean that you think that what they did was right.
Right.
And healing don't mean always forgetting either. You know, it's one of those things, and that's the thing, you know, it's learning to, you know, definitely have a healthy coping skills. It is. I mean, believe it or not, taking a deep breath is a tremendous coping skill that people could really utilize a lot more. And I'm telling you, I mean, it's one of those, what are you talking about? That's, I'm telling you, a parent, you know, this is from a parent taking a timeout or counting to 10 before they handle the situation is a lot better than just going diving in there, you know, trying to, I mean, it just is.
Yeah, little box breathing work wonders.
It just is. I know, you know, I love your parents, but you know, definitely disciplinarians,
Yeah.
right? But how many times you think, you know, I mean, this is the thing that, you know, I mean, when we talk about, you know, when we talk about traumatic things, definitely one of those things. It's my phone, I think. Yeah, it's right over there. Yeah, but you know, definitely one of those things. I'll cut this out. I'll wait. Okay. You go back. It's going for. It's definitely one of those things where you know, I do remember the times where, you know, but it doesn't get me like that as well. I mean, as far as, you know, that's not the traumatic things. That it was the things that I didn't listen to. You know, those are the things that I, you know what I mean? Really, I don't remember this one. Fine, I get that. But I know there's people that delve in a little bit to abuse. I'm not saying that I was. I'm not saying you were either.
Right.
But it's definitely something that, you know, people have to understand that, you know, in order to heal, sometimes you have to understand that, you know, it's hard to build that trust when this is what we've done. I mean, and we talk about it even with, you know, when we worked at Presley and that place like that, you know, certain discipline just doesn't work. Not because you're doing it all wrong. You're tearing down the trust where you should be building it back up again, right? Being reliable. If I'm just coming in whooping or coming in just spanking you and that's it. When do we share a meal together? When do we do these things together, right? And it becomes a traumatic thing. I mean, I'm gonna let you get into this. I'm gonna be quiet for a second, but you know, real quick, some healthy things, and I'm gonna talk about this real therapy. Support groups is a great thing as well to use. Faith communities, exercise, journaling, healthy relationships, and also mindfulness and practices. Real quick, when we talk about traumatic things, I want you to get into this real quick. Some of the things that I want to say about is people that get into some, you know, some really, really, really sadistic type things due to trauma. It's linked to a lot of that trauma, like a lot of, you know, people who've done, you know, terrible things to people.
Yes.
Linked to a lot of trauma from there.
The trauma, it's sad to say, but when humans hurt other humans, a lot of times it's linked to the fact of something that's already happened to them. You know, you go into the aspects of, I hate to say it, but pedophilia. You know, most people who've been abused abuse others, and if you can't break that link and break that cycle, then you know therapy is kind of almost mute. You have to recycle and rework and redo, and then then you can't go into things like emotional therapy and things of that nature. You have to find other ways to break that cycle.
Right.
So and like you say, healing is definitely possible. With PTSD and things like that.
Right.
But if you don't take time, and if you consistently allow that individual to work in that arena, then they're going to maintain that traumatic feeling and that the mind is a crazy thing. The mind will click on the other side of that, and what has been traumatic for one person becomes a joy for that other person. And that person that finds the joy in that, he'll go out and traumatize as many individuals just to chase that joy. It's almost like a addict chasing a high. So you have to break that cycle, break that chain, and find what works for that person to deal with that healing. And whether it's sitting down with other people who've been traumatized or being one-on-one with the individual who has a more in-depth thought process with you,
Right.
or running a faith-based situation where you feel you can find the healing from a higher power. There are so many other things you can do, but you just want to make sure that you're working towards a goal of healing and not a goal of promoting that individual's joy of trauma.
The only reason why I even said that anyway, because majority of people do not do that suffer from PTSD.
Right.
I mean, it really don't. I mean, but it doesn't. But also, the trauma doesn't predetermine someone's future either.
Right.
That's why I'm going into it, because you can go down a rabbit hole with it. I mean, and see. I mean, man, and link a lot of link to it. I think that's why prevention is way better than being reactive. I really believe that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask your thoughts on. Are we doing enough on the prevention side of things? Because I was just looking at the numbers the other night. They're staggering. The numbers of convicts that have been convicted of violent crimes.
Right.
How much they've been victims of physical violent trauma. It's just common sense would tell me, like, let's start pouring some resources into prevention and try to break that cycle. Are we doing enough, or is that going in the right direction, do you think?
I definitely feel that, compared to the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, where we are in the 2000s, things are trending in an upward fashion. But we also have to realize that there's so many different dynamics to dealing with just the point of violence. You start breaking down violence, and the natures of violence in the United States goes from cultural to proximity to what they call I can't think of the name of it, where you know 9 times out of 10 someone gets killed by somebody they know. See what I'm saying? So now you have that whole dynamic community in aspect. So you have higher aspects of violence when you start talking gang violence. You start talking other things. So the aspect of violence is only going to be changed by the point of opportunities for education, opportunities for financial gain, to balance some of the scales.
Just by you sitting here, I started to realize something that you said. Like yesterday, I knew a little bit about the direction we wanted to take the show to this week, but until you just said that, and then just even talking today, it is a broad area.
Yeah, it's huge.
PTSD is a broad area, but it brings on so many other things, to bring to the table, and that's the thing. So when we talk about, healing, when we talk about, preventive things as well, not only is preventive being on this time reactive of how to prevent it from happening or from getting even worse, or just definitely, I think a lot of times bringing it to the table is a big thing, and bring it to the